transferred to Manchester United today.
Football predictions.
If Rangers 0, Ipswich Town 1.
Football predictions.
Hi, it's Peter Guest,
And the Moose.
and we are here for another episode of footballpredictions.net, the podcast, for games in Brazil's Serie A for the 3rd and 4th of August 2024. What have we got lined up today, Moose?
We've got 9 games lined up in the Brazilian Serie A, and we're starting with Vitória at home to Cuiabá, Vasco da Gama at home to Red Bull Bragantino, Atlético Goiás at home to Botafogo, Criciúma at home to Atlético Mineiro, Flamengo visits São Paulo, Fluminense takes on Bahia, Corinthians takes on Juventude, Atlético Paranaense takes on Grêmio, and finally Palmeiras visits Internacional.
Yeah, and all of these details for the matches that we're about to discuss in this podcast are available on our website, footballpredictions.net. So just go there and have a look alongside this podcast, and you'll also see fixtures for just about every other football competition in the world from A to Z.
Yes, and on our website, you will see where to watch the games on local broadcast channels, plus video streaming services, as well as match odds from local bookmakers.
So if you look in the description of this podcast episode, you'll find direct clickable links to all of the matches that we're about to discuss. And if you're going to live stream, geolocation and live streaming rules apply, 18 plus, gamble aware. Let's get right into it and have a look at the first game, which is Vitória versus Cuiabá. This one kicks off on Saturday, 3rd of August in the UK at 8 p.m. And it's available for live stream on Bet365. Use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. And, Moose, Vitória were victorious in their last game.
They really were, and what a win for them at Palmeiras, 2-0. We did predict under 2.5 and know both teams to score. It was just the result
We did.
was in a different favour. Didn't go to Palmeiras, it went to Vitória. But yeah, what a win for them. And upcoming this home game against Cuiabá, who has had 3 defeats at home in a row, one being in the Copa Sudamericano. But yeah, going away to Vitória is going to be a tricky test for them.
Yeah, with that win, Vitória have leapfrogged Cuiabá in the table. They're now just sitting above them on 18 points, although they have played a couple more games than Cuiabá at this stage of the season. But still, it's an impressive turnaround, really, from Vitória. They've only won the 5 games all season, but to win away at Palmeiras was really a good one for them. And they've now won 2 out of their last 6 Serie A games. Cuiabá is not in such a great way. They've only won the 4 all season, but they've also lost their last couple of Serie A games, and they were both at home as well.
Yeah, and if we look at Vitória, their home form, they actually have 3 wins in the last 6. Now, they do have two recent defeats. However, that was against Flamengo and Botafogo, which you can probably be forgiven to lose to even at home, because those are the 2 top teams in the Brazilian Serie A. So that's some tricky games. But yeah, they've beaten Criciúma, Mineiro, and Internacional just prior to those games. And those are all teams sort of in and around where we find Cuiabá as well. So I think, yeah, it's looking like this could go to the home team.
Yeah, and we are also looking we think it will be quite a close game, actually. Of course, they are very close in the table as well. And seems to be that what we're looking at for this one as a tip is actually an under 2.5 goals game. And, looking at the under 2.5 goals kind of records, if you like, it's about 50% for both teams at the moment. But, we feel like this is going to be one of them. But we also think Vitória will win. Just to go through the odds on that, under 2.5, which is what we're predicting, that's also heavily favoured with the bookies by the looks of it, because the odds on that are 1.48. That's a Bet365. And but Vitória to win, you can actually get at 2.3. So that's possibly a nice one to look at as well. Correct score. We're going for 1-0 here, aren't we, Moose? And
Yeah.
your odds on that one are 6 or 5-1 in fractional. So yeah, have a look at that one. I think it is the best one. Will be under 2.5 goals, and both teams, of course, will be knowing their positions in the table and thinking, we really want to keep this tight and get over the line against a close rival in the table and get out of those relegation spots. So
Definitely. Looks low
shall
scoring
we,
game.
yeah, shall we move on to Vasco da Gama, who play Red Bull Bragantino. Kicks off on Saturday, 3rd of August in the UK at 11 p.m. Watch it on Bet365. You can live stream it. Use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. And have a look at having a look at the scores for Vasco. They've lost their last couple of Serie A games just by kind of smallish margins. That was to Gremio, and they 1-0. We did predict them to lose that game by a goal. Game before that, we also predicted them to lose against Atletico Mineiro, which they did. We also got the under 2.5 goals for that, and both teams not to score. So pretty good going with some of these results. And what about Red Bull Bragantino and their recent results?
Yeah, Bragantino's had a few games in the Cup, both Copa do Brasil and Copa Sudamericano. But yeah, in the Copa do Brasil, they lost midweek to Atletico PR. We actually predicted that. We had under 2.5 goals. No both teams to score, and Atletico PR to go through. At Bragantino defeat. The last week we predicted them to beat Fluminense, who are or were at the time bottom or sitting at the bottom at least in the Serie A. But yeah, they lost 1-0, so that was quite surprising. It was an under 2.5 game, and we had no both teams to score again. But it just the outcome was flipped around there. So yeah, Bragantino, we looked pretty solid. We predicted them also to win in Copa Sudamericano against Barcelona. It's not the Barcelona that most people are familiar with. They won that one 3-2. But yeah, Vasco, I mean, look, they've had 4 away games in a row, including the Copa do Brasil. Like you said, we predicted their last 2 away matches, 2 defeats. But now they're at home, and it's a slightly different story when Vasco is playing at home. No defeats in 5. They rarely concede since they had that 6-1 home defeat to Flamengo. We've only conceded 2 goals in their last 5 home matches. And they have scored quite a few goals on the way. They've scored 9 goals in the last 4 matches. So they picked up the home form here, which I think is also reflecting our prediction.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Vasco are far better at home. They've only won 7 games all season. In fact, these 2 teams are very close in the table as well, right next to each other. But at home, their points per game average is 1.89, which is pretty good. They do concede usually in a lot of games, but at home they're better, and they've won 5 out of 9 games there. So that's got to say something. Bragantino, on the other hand, are pretty shocking away. They've played 9 away games and won only 1 of those. And their points per game average away is 0.67. They've got a -4 goal difference as well away from home. So yeah, it kind of goes with our thinking here that we think Vasco are going to come away with this one, don't we?
Yeah, we've gone for a narrow Vasco home win, 1-0. So an under game, which seems fairly likely, but also considering that Bragantino is really struggling to score goals away from home, only scoring less than 1 on average over the last 5 games. And similarly, Vasco playing at home, not conceding much. So it seems like a low-scoring game. But we're going for a Vasco win.
Yeah, so regarding our tip, it's under 2.5 goals. Again, another one we think will be tight. You can get odds of 1.67 for that at the moment as we speak. For a Vasco win, you can get odds of 2.1. And if you do look at the correct score prediction of 1-0, you can get 6.5 odds for that on your returns. Interestingly, if you did think that Red Bull Bragantino can be the team, that gets the goal to win it, you can get odds of 3.6. So not very well favoured with the bookies, but they're thinking like we are. Vasco da Gama, hopefully, will be able to get ahead in this game. And they'll actually end up leapfrogging Bragantino in the process.
Yep.
So let's look at our next game, which is Atletico Goiás, who take on Botafogo. And this one kicks off on Sunday, the 4th of August for us at midnight, so Sunday morning in the UK. And another one that's live streamable on Bet365. You can watch that with, as long as you've got a unit of currency deposited or having had placed a bet in the last 24 hours, you can watch that for nothing. No subscription needed. Just use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. So Atletico Goiás have been in the wars lately a bit, haven't they? Although we have been predicting their results pretty well. So we know that they're not doing too well at bottom of the league. Last time out, we had a really good prediction. We predicted them to lose away at Flamengo 2-0, and the score was 2-0. So another correct one. Game before that, we predicted a 1-1 draw at home to Bahia, and it was a 1-1 draw. So that's pretty fantastic for us here. Serie A. I could go on, but yeah, we've had some in fact, we've predicted all of their results correctly in the Serie A in the last sort of 5 or 6. Botafogo, they actually had a shocker, didn't they, against Cruzeiro last time out? They ended up losing 3-0.
Yeah, it surprised us a little bit. Botafogo had been in really good form leading into that game. But yeah, they lost 3-0 at home to Cruzeiro, which was a bit of probably the upset of the round, not just in terms of the outcome, but also the fact that it was a 3-0 scoreline. Really unusual for Botafogo to go down with that amount of goals. Ironically, or not ironically, but the last time they conceded 3 goals was in their away game at that Cruzeiro, which was the first game of the season, and they lost 3-2 in that one. So there seems to be Cruzeiro seems to have a good grip on Botafogo. But yeah, going back to the game against Goiás, it's a game that, in the opposite fixture, Botafogo actually beat them 1-0. And prior to this game, Botafogo was prior to the Cruzeiro game, Botafogo was in really good form. We predicted previous to that their home win against Internacional. In their away game at São Paulo, we actually thought Botafogo was going to lose that one, but they picked up a point. But we had over 2.5 and both teams to score. We had the goals market in that one correct. But yeah, going into this game against Goiás being right at the bottom, Botafogo being right at the top, we're not going with a convincing Botafogo win, but we are going with a Botafogo win of 1-0, so a narrow Botafogo away win in this game. Yeah,
and I think after what happened, because had they won that game, they would have been top of the league, but it wasn't to be. They conceded those 3, and it was really out of character. Regarding what you get for that, so the Botafogo to win is 2.1 odds, so they are favourites there. But our tip is under 2.5 goals, and you can pick up odds of that of 1.65 at the moment. And if you did look at the 1-0 correct score away, you can get odds of 6.5. 6.5 seems to be pretty standard at the moment for that. Yeah, so let's see how that goes. We hope that Botafogo can win and possibly even return to the top of the league. Next, we have Criciúma at home to Atletico Mineiro. That one's on at midnight again, at Sunday, 4th of August for us in the UK. Live streamable again on Bet365. Use our bonus code FP365 if you are new to them. Criciúma had a really good away win in their last match. They kind of bucked the odds and end up winning 2-0 against Juventude, which took us a little bit by surprise, actually. And we haven't been too bad, though, previous to that with the predictions for them. In fact, getting most of those correct. In fact, even the game on the 24th of July, we predicted them to draw 1-1 with Fortaleza, didn't we? And they drew 1-1 with them. So another good correct score.
I was going to say, in the most recent home game, we predicted a 1-1 draw against Fortaleza, and it ended 1-1. And then actually prior to that, we predicted their 3 away defeats at Flamengo, Corinthians, and Vitoria. So yeah, we've been looking pretty good up until the Juventude point in terms of predictions on Criciúma.
Yeah, Criciúma, of course, sort of hovering around in mid-table. They're 12th and 21 points. They've only played 18 games, so there is, reason for them to try and do well to get up the table a bit. Atletico Mineiro, on the other hand, are sitting in 9th position on the table with 28 points, so doing a bit better. Atletico Mineiro have been in fairly good form, actually. I think the last time they actually lost was the 8th of July, so it's been 5 games in a row without a loss for them, and 3 of those were wins. We have been predicting them pretty well too. We got the 2-1 against Sao Paulo. They won 2-1. We predicted that. We did predict them to beat Vasco 1-0. They ended up winning 2-0. And we predicted them to beat Corinthians at home 3-1. They won 2-1. So they've been agreeing with what we think of them. And I think that might carry on to this one, Moose.
Yeah, for this one, we are looking at an Atletico Mineiro win. Again, a narrow win. So we're going with a 1-0 away win for Atletico Mineiro in this game. And judging by the results, most recent results, also our predictions, we've been looking pretty good on both teams. Like you said, Criciúma did surprise us a little bit last week, but it did seem to be sort of like the odd one out in terms of results. I mean, they had just one win in 8th prior to that Juventude win. But for this game, we just think that Mineiro is going to edge Criciúma.
Yeah, kind of gets backed up a little bit by the stats as well. If you look at Criciúma at home this season, they've played 9, only won 2, and they've only got a minus goal difference at home, which is worse than their away form. The points per game at home average is 1.22. So playing a team a bit higher up the table as well this time in Atletico Mineiro. Atletico Mineiro away have played 8-1-3. So an average points per game of 1.5. So, yeah, it's small margins here, I think. So this one really could go either way. But we think it's going to go the way of Atletico Mineiro. And let me give you the odds on that. So our tip is under 2.5. Again, we think it'll be another close one. Odds on that is 1.67. If you want to go for the Atletico Mineiro to win, you can get 2.5 odds. And correct score of 1-0, the away 1-0 is 7.5. But yeah, it's actually, bookies are pretty split on this. Odds of Criciúma winning at 2.8. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but yeah, that's why we are going to go for the under 2.5 goals as our tip for this one.
Yeah.
Next, let's have a look at Sao Paulo, who take on Flamengo. 4th of August, Sunday morning for us at 1:30 in the morning in the UK. And another one you can live stream on Bet365. Use our bonus code FP365, subscription free. And, well, talk about Sao Paulo. They have been pretty agreeable with some of our recent predictions. In that Copa Brazil game that was played on Wednesday morning, we predicted them to beat Goiás. So it was like a Serie A kind of a game. 2-0, and they end up winning 2-0. So perfect, that one, which is great. Yeah. And we also predicted Flamengo, their opponents in this game, to win this morning in the Copa do Brazil 2-1. They won 2-0. But before that, in Serie A, which is what, of course, we're interested in here, we predicted Flamengo to beat Atletico Goiás 2-0, and they won 2-0. We like it. So, let's have your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so Flamengo, I think, in terms of our predictions for the last 4 games, we've had the outcome, and even some correct scores in between to combine with goals. So it's been looking really, really good on Flamengo. They had a little dodgy patch, Flamengo, with the draw at home to Cuiabá and a defeat at home to Fortaleza, but they bounced back nicely over the last 3 matches with 3 wins in a row against, I would say, winnable teams. but no doubt Sao Paulo is going to be a really tough test for them going into this game, especially as Sao Paulo at home is looking really, really strong. I mean, they have lost two games this season. The first one was right at the beginning of the season, ironically at home to Fortaleza. However, over the last 8 home games, they've actually won 6. They drew at home to Botafogo in the last one and lost 1. So yeah, really, really strong.
Unbeaten in 5 in the last league matches at home, São Paulo. So hard to beat at home. So they're taking on a Flamengo team who, in fact, look at their home in terms of their home form. São Paulo played 10-1-6, drawn 2, lost 2, average points per game of 2. Funny enough, Flamengo, look at this, played 9. This is away, 1-5. Lost 1, drawn 3, and their points per game average away is also exactly 2, which kind of is helping us with our analysis of this. So we do think, even though Flamengo are top of the table at the moment, with the game in hand, and have been doing well, they have drawn 4 games this season. São Paulo have drawn 5 games this season. You can tell what I'm going to say here. We're going for a draw. But we also do think that because of their good goal scoring ability, I think Flamengo have scored 34 goals this season and São Paulo have scored 28. So pretty high goal scoring teams.
Yeah.
We think it's going to be both teams to score. And that's what we're predicting for this one for our tip. Both teams to score, you can get at 1.95 odds. So pretty good. You get what you put in back. For a draw, really good odds, which is what we're going for here, 3.25. You can get at Bet365, which is slightly better than the other bookies I'm looking at right now. And if you look at the 1-1 for a correct score prediction, which is what we're going for, you can get odds of 6. So I'm not sure that they're as appealing as the others, to be honest with you. But yeah, that is what we're hoping is going to happen in that game. Moving on to Fluminense, who take on Bahia. This one's at a more decent time for us on Sunday, the 4th of August at 8 p.m. UK time. Another one you can stream live using Bet365 and utilize our bonus code FP365 if you are joining them. Fluminense have been doing really well of late. They are, I know that they're really kind of low down in the table. They're second last, but what a turnaround. They last time out beat Red Bull Bragantino away. Before that, they beat Palmeiras at home. Before that, they ended up beating Cuiabá away. And they had the draw with Criciúma before those 3 wins in a row, but have really done well. But, on the other hand, Bahia have not won since the 10th of July, and that was away against Atletico PR. But yeah, they then lost their next 2, and then they drew their next 2 after that, both 1-1. So they've kind of run out of steam a bit, haven't they, Bahia?
Yeah, it's interesting with Bahia. Like you say, they do seem to have run out of steam a little bit. They definitely hit a rough patch, and it's not that they've played particularly a good team. Like one of the teams within these 4 matches was at Goiás. They lost at home to Cuiabá as well. So really some teams at the bottom of the league there. What's interesting about Fluminense is, despite our outcome predictions, we've actually had them bang on the under 2.5 goals and know both teams to score in the last 4 out of 5 matches. And the under market in the last 5 matches. Fluminense, if we look at them as a team, and if we look at their last 10 matches, has been under 2.5 goals. And you can almost tell from their wins, the most recent wins, which have all been 1-0 wins in the Serie A. Like this is a team that's grinding out results, low scoring, grinding out results, but really probably results that could go either way as well. because of the position of Fluminense has in the league. Probably not one of the stronger teams, but yeah, they picked up out of nowhere 3 wins in a row going into the game against Bahia. Who's to say that they can't continue that pattern?
Exactly. And you know what? Bahia haven't beaten Fluminense when they played them away from home in the last 9 matches in the league. So they've got very poor away form when they go there.
Yeah,
which is something to consider. And yeah, just the way that the season's been going, it's kind of been a bit topsy-turvy for Fluminense. But like you said, they're grinding out a lot of 1-0 wins. They have had, in fact, their last 4 out of their last 5 games have been 1-0ers.
Yeah,
which is incredible, including the last 3 in a row. So they've tightened up defensively a lot, and they started off so terribly, but now they've conceded in their last 6 games. They've only conceded 2 goals. That's quite amazing. So
yeah,
and that was the 1 goal against Internacional, which was when they were at home, and the 1 that Criciúma scored in their draw on the 12th of July. So yeah. Now, regarding predictions for this one, like you mentioned before, we've been doing really well on the under 2.5s with them, and that's what we're going for here again. We think they're going to grind out another another 1-0, and it's going to be, this time, another under 2.5 goals. Odds on that, 1.75, which I think is pretty decent considering, look at the results that they've had. The Fluminense to...
So sorry, Guest. I was just going to say that sounds like a decent price for an under market in this game, considering also the position that Bahia is in here, really struggling scoring goals at the moment, just 3 in the last 4, and going to a Fluminense team that has not conceded really that many goals over the last couple of matches.
Yeah. Odds, by the way, on the Fluminense to win 2.05, and if you did go for our 1-0 prediction, you get odds of 7. So yeah, Bahia are actually quite high priced on a win at 3.5. So yeah, the bookies are also favouring Fluminense, who, like I said, even though they're second last in the table, we thinking that they are going to start climbing it if they carry on like this and escape relegation zone. Let's hope for them. Next up, we have Corinthians, who take on Juventude. Again, this one's on the 4th of August at 8 p.m. on Sunday for us in the UK. And you can stream it live on Bet365. Use the bonus code FP365. I think this one could be quite a fascinating game. Juventude have been in shocking form coming into this game. And, especially, they've had a series of draws. Those 3 draws. Two draws, I should say, in a row, and then they lost to Cruzeiro, and then they lost to Criciúma. Whereas Corinthians slightly better form. I know they did lose to Atletico Mineiro. That was away, and we did predict them to lose that one. We predicted 3-1. They lost 2-1. But sort of coming into this, they are both looking a bit shaky. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, although Corinthians, if we do look at the form at home, they're actually looking pretty decent of late. They've only lost 1 game all season at home. Yeah, they only lost 1 game all season at home, which was to the top team, Botafogo. Other than that, they have 3 wins and 5 draws. So I think looking at Corinthians, especially at home, they've picked up on the goal scoring as well. They've actually scored an average of 2 goals at home over the last 5 games. They're playing Juventude here, who is not in, like you just said, they're not in great form. And if you look at them away from home, they've actually not picked up a win all season. They've got 2 draws right at the beginning of the season, which was at Criciúma and Fluminense. Now, don't forget, those are 2 teams that quite, I know Criciúma is now mid-table, but Fluminense at the bottom of the table. Other than that, 6 defeats. And they'd like to concede away from home as well, conceded 2 goals or more in the last 5 away games. So I think, just judging by the home and away form and general form of these teams, our listeners can probably sense where this might be going.
Yeah, I mean, away form for Juventude, like I said, played 8, 1-0. Their average points per game away from home this season is 0.25, a quarter of a point. Shocking. And Corinthians, like you mentioned, on the other hand, their points per game at home 1.56. Not brilliant, but much better than a quarter of a point. And they've only lost the one game all season at home. So, yeah, we're going to go for a Corinthians win. Odds of that, they're odds on 1.67. But our tip is actually for higher odds, and that's for both teams to score. We are going for both teams to score prediction on that 2.05. That's about 365. And if you did like our 2-1 prediction, which is what we're going for here, then you can get odds of 8.5. I think that might be also an interesting one to have a little bit on. But the both teams to score is what we are liking. Shall we move on to the next match, which is Atletico PR, who take on Gremio, 8 o'clock on Sunday, the 4th of August, 8 p.m. that is, for us here in the UK. Bet365 have that also on the live stream. Use our bonus code FP365 if you are new to them. And Atletico PR are doing quite well recently. I think they've only lost that one game that I can remember in the last month or so. That was a away to Red Bull Bragantino. But Gremio have been not doing badly either. In fact, they've only had the one loss that I can remember, which is nearly two and a half weeks ago against Sao Paulo.
Yeah, I mean, look, Atletico PR, they've had quite a few cup games in between, both in the Copa Sudamericano and Copa do Brasil, which were all games that they've been winning. The most recent was midweek, a game that we predicted because we had them to beat Bragantino 1-0. We beat them 2-0. And furthermore, the other two games in the Copas we have predicted as well. I think when we look at the Serie A, Atletico PR has been a bit more of a mixed bag, either win or lose. Over the last 7 games, they have 3 wins, all away from home, and 4 defeats. So, yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag. But if we do consider the cup games, they're actually looking pretty decent form. But ditto with Gremio going into this game. Gremio, who has won 2 out of the last 3, and that's coming on the back of 3 defeats with no goals from Gremio. So they picked up a little bit, and against decent sides as well. The most recent win was that home win against Vasco da Gama, which we predicted. We had Gremio to win on the outcome, and they beat Vasco 1-0. And prior to that, they had a 2-2 Corinthians and a 2-0 home win to Vitória. So overall, these are 2 teams not looking too bad. But I think if we consider Atletico PR and sort of definitely their run at home, including the cup, do look in good form at the moment. Yeah,
and Gremio's away form, they've not won a game away from home all season. They've played 8, 1-0. And their points per game, funny enough, is also a quarter of a point. 0.25 points away from home, that is. So we don't really hold out any hope that they're suddenly going to turn that around here away at Atletico PR. So consequently, we have decided that it's going to be a pretty decent home win for Atletico PR. Our tip for this one is an Atletico PR to win. 1.85 odds you can get for that. We've also gone for both teams to score because, we think the actual score, final score, correct what we call it, is going to be 3-1. Now, that's an interesting one in this case because if we did get that correct, our correct score prediction, odds on 3-1 in this game are 17. So that's
tasty.
That's massive. Yeah, so a little bit on that wouldn't be a bad option. But we've on the conservative side, we think both teams to score, and odds of that are 2. So that leads us into our final one, which is Internacional, who take on Palmeiras, I should say. And this one is kind of a battle of 2 teams that have really got pretty bad form, and also don't tend to score a lot of goals. I was just looking at Palmeiras in particular. They have not scored a goal since the 21st of July. They've had 3 games since then. They got beaten by Fluminense 1-0. They got beaten then by Vitória 2-0, and that was at home. And then they got beaten in the Copa do Brasil by Flamengo 2-0. Not only that, they also lost that game to Botafogo, didn't they? And that was 1-0. So very struggling for goals. And Internacional not that much better.
No, I mean, interestingly, with Palmeiras, when it comes to our predictions, but this was Palmeiras at home, we actually had them right on when they were home to Goiás. We had 3-0, they won 3-1. Then they went home to Cruzeiro, they beat them 2-0. And we had predicted 2-0 in that one. In between, they had a game at Botafogo, which they lost. We predicted a draw, which can all be forgiven probably when you do play the stronger teams away. But yeah, then all of a sudden, three defeats in a row against teams at the bottom half of the league. A 1-0 defeat of Fluminense, this 2-0 home defeat recently to Vitória. We have, it has to be said, we had no both teams to score and under 2.5 goals in these two matches. But yeah, they're not looking in particularly great form, Palmeiras, with three league defeats from the last 4, considering that prior to that, for the whole season, you had only 3 defeats up until that point in total. So
yeah,
it's accumulated.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say they've literally doubled the amount of defeats within the last 4 games, and they've also dropped down the league table quite a bit. Not quite a bit.
Third. Yeah.
But they're down to 3rd now. Botafogo and Flamengo has a little gap there of 4 points. So they're surely looking to try and pick up a little bit. But yeah, you're playing an international team who's also out of form and can't really score. They've scored less than a goal on average over the last 6 matches.
Yeah, and that's influencing our prediction for this one as well. We actually think this one's going to be, and we don't like to predict them, but when they come off, it's always good. We think it's going to be a 0-0 draw. Really boring. Hopefully it's not really boring, but it's an exciting 0-0. But the way that Palmeiras have kind of really lost the plot this season, it's amazing they're still 3rd. But I think at this rate they will be caught soon because they have played 20 games, which is 1 or 2 games more than a couple of other teams. So they could suddenly find themselves, around about 6th position, whereas earlier on the season they were doing so well. But yeah, they've lost form. We think it'll be a draw. Odds on a draw, always good odds on a draw. 3.5. That's a Bet365. And but yeah, our tip for this one is under 2.5 goals because of the lack of goals that we've seen, and you get odds of that for 1.6. Yeah, if you want to go for the 0-0 draw, correct score is odds of 8 or 7-1 in the old money. And just a reminder, if you do want to stream these matches I've been mentioning, that they're all broadcast on Bet365. Geolocation and live streaming rules do apply. 18 plus, gamble aware, and use that bonus code FP365 if you're a new customer.
Yeah, and in the description section of this podcast, you can see links to the games we've just covered, or simply just visit footballpredictions.net. That's where you can browse online sources to watch the games from your location via streaming and TV channels, our predictions for different betting markets, as well as the best offers and odds.
Of course, if you're listening to this for the first time, you might not know that we also record podcasts for a number of competitions. And of course, we've got, not far away, we've got the big European league starting up again. And anyway, you can grab them all at podcast.footballpredictions.net. You can subscribe there. Please do if you like it. And also, if you like what you hear, do give us a like or a comment because we'd love to hear your feedback. And you can also get these podcasts at the places like Apple or Spotify, where you usually get your podcasts from as well. So thanks all for listening, and until the next time, it's
adios.
Bye bye.
Football predictions.